before, and I was like just doing random things with my hands, and the person next to me was like, oh my god, you know how to muzz? Can you teach me how? And I'm like, bro, I just started doing this and then waving my hands around. Like, I don't exactly know how to muzz.
Is there a wrong way to muzz or specifically dance, though?
I don't know. I feel like when I see people muzzing, they always have like a specific pattern that they do with it.
It's like a...
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, welcome.
Hello.
Hi, Silver.
Hi.
Everyone, welcome back to another Freedom Raver podcast. My name is Carly, and I'm here with our amazing designer, Silver. Hello. So we're here to kind of talk about today just like your journey here at Freedom Raver. Yes. And wait, how long have you been with the company?
Oh, it's been... like whenever someone asks me, I'm like, I don't even know.
Do you not know well, you have like a start date, right?
Yeah. I think I've been with Freedom for like, it's been like a year, and I want to say, oh wait, I'm coming up to my 2 year. Actually.
2 year, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
In May, I believe. Yeah, so almost on my 2 year.
Oh, so you are a graphic designer here. When did you start doing that?
I started kind of like 6 months in. I was like on production, and I was just given an assignment here and there, and my first assignment I was given about 6 months in, and Alyssa was basically like, the owner was basically like, hey, so I know you're a designer on the side, we wanted to start you off with like production, but I want to see like some ideas that you have, because I know you're like a creative person or whatever. So I basically...
Or
whatever, dude. but anyway, so she was like, come up with some different designs. I'll give you like this week to do it. And I was like, cool, I'm super down. And that was my first week off production. So I was really like giddy about it, because I had joined Freedom and I wasn't sure what was going to happen, like where I was going to go with it. But yeah, so anyway, I came up with a couple different designs. One of them was Mirage, the newer collection coming out, the like super neon one. And everyone basically was like, we like this one. We want to do this one. So I originally was making like Pash designs, just like pashminas. So Alyssa was like, okay, we'll do this one, but we want you to make it into like a side boob and a bunch of different styles. So I was like, oh, okay. Like this, it was just like a, I don't know, kind of like a random opportunity that I got, but I'm really happy that, I don't know, things kind of worked out the way they have, because slowly I just kind of was like weaning off production, and I just did like little design projects here and there. And that's kind of how I started, basically.
And so your first role here like was production. Like what would you do? Like, so
I was on the laser cutter machine, which is basically, I would say it's like the third part of the process of like how we make clothes. So after the clothes are like pressed and printed, I basically use this machine that will like pick up on the outlines of the garments that we print out, and it will like automatically cut. A lot of the times we had to like hand cut things. So
oh really? Yeah. Why would you? In what instance would you like have to like hand cut something? Like why?
Maybe like it just like depended. So like sometimes we would have styles that it's hard to explain without showing you, but sometimes we would have styles that we did just have to hand cut.
Like a little bit more intricate, or a bigger piece, a smaller piece? It
was like a small piece. Like
maybe like a triangle boob, or like...
It would be like a kind of a different style of bikini bottom that we used to have. I think it was called like I forget what it was called. But anyway, it was a type of like bottom that we had that the computer, I think, couldn't pick up on, or something like. There was always like
something.
Yeah. Cutting isn't just like a straightforward job. There's like a couple different ways to cut, and it was like sometimes it would be like really quick, or sometimes it would be like a kind of a tedious process. But yeah, that's just part of cutting. Like there was just so many little things to it.
And were you like required? Because I know nothing about production. Like I started off as we were talking about this the other day, like what we started off as. Like I'm obviously starting off as an intern and then I'm a marketer, but the production side has always interested me as well. Like what, like you named that it was like the third piece of the process. What would you say like the beginning steps are?
I would say, or maybe it's like the fourth. There's so many things in the
Really?
process. Yeah. Cause like, it's like obviously designing the styles and then sometimes putting the styles into markers, which is like, you get like the outline of a garment and then you put the print inside the outline to then be pressed. So I guess designing, printing, pressing, and then cutting. And then from there, sewing and
you were in the cutting process. So that's where you started off as.
Yeah, I started there. But I have printed and I've also pressed for like a pretty long time. So I was deep into production.
Yeah. Were you just like thrown into those roles, or like how did you come about getting like, you're like, oh, today I'm doing this. Like today I'm doing heat press. Today I'm doing cutting. Like
eventually it started to become random. Like I started to kind of do like
just everything.
Yeah. Well, obviously I had like help from other people, but you know, I was just kind of
it's not a one-woman show.
Some days, well, I mean, it would be amazing if I could do it all myself, but some days it would just be like, I don't know, whatever I was needed for. But wait, what was your question again? Sorry.
So what random jobs would you just like start with? Like
okay. So I had gotten hired to be a laser cutter, and the reason I got into that job was because I was looking for a new job. It was kind of like a little bit after COVID, you know, like things were a little bit like in the air. I feel like, yeah, definitely,
sketchy wetchy.
Yeah, I was just needing a new job, and I had been following Freedom on Instagram for quite a few years, and Alyssa randomly did a story. She was like, join our production team. It's super fun. Like the team's great, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, you know, why not? I'll send in. I don't expect to get the job, but we'll see what happens. Yeah. It was for the laser cutter position. But like, you know, I was just kind of like looking for anything that seemed like maybe fun or that I could do long term. Yeah. So, I went in and I got hired and I was like, dope. Like, Freedom's awesome. I'm a huge raver. Like I've been a raver for like a few years now, and it just kind of aligned with things I liked. So started there, and then I think I forget how long I was on the laser cutter, but it was probably around like 7 months or so. And then I got put on to the heat press position, which is basically where after the garments are like printed on like a giant piece of paper, you press it into this really hot machine with fabric, and it transfers the print of what's on the paper onto the fabric. So, which was like a whole new learning process too. It's a very like, all of these machines are like very complex, and like they can also be really finicky. Yeah. So, that was like a really big learning curve for me, but I got really good at it. So that was cool. And then from there, I started to learn how to do the printer, and I mastered everything. So
did you start by like designing like your own clothes? Like how did they know to like put you in this position one day? Like, did you like want to be a graphic designer for us? Oh, okay. Yeah. So you were like, I'm gonna weasel my way. I'm gonna do anything.
Well, I had told them in my interview like what I was going to school for at the time, and like I've been an artist my whole life, so I made it very clear like, oh, I'm like very big on like designing, like I'm a graphic designer, blah blah blah. Like I'm going to school for it right now even, and they were kind of like intrigued by that. So they didn't necessarily have a position open for that, but they kind of were like. They were basically saying like, we might want to see like some of your designs in the future for us to maybe like potentially make a collection in the future. Yeah. So it was always kind of a possibility, but I wasn't ever sure if it was gonna be my main job.
Really? Yeah. So you kind of took that risk when you started here, because there was no like guarantee for that.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I did really need a job at the time, but it kind of just like fell into place naturally over time, and it just kind of worked out. But when I went to school, it was just kind of like a general media degree with an emphasis in graphic design. So I know how to do like a lot of different things. Like I'm a creative in so many different ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't sure where exactly I was gonna go with it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be like a graphic designer full time or whatever, because I'm interested in so many different things. But yeah, it kind of fell into place really well.
And what was the first collection like you've designed? Was because you mentioned that it was like within 7 or 6 months in that they were like, hey, we want to see your designs. Was that like first design ever like made, or was, because you had mentioned something about Mirage, and Mirage is getting released in what, like a week? But you've had that design on lock for how long? Like
so long,
which is so crazy to see it come to life. And I know that you're pretty nervous about it, and then we all saw it and we were like, oh, beep, like little beep button. Like we were all very like, this is sick.
Okay, so that was, so like I had come up with like a few different designs. But that one was kind of the favorite because Alyssa basically was like, let's all vote. Let's see which one's our favorite. And it happened to be that one. And I really liked that one when I had made it. I was like really stoked on it. But like I said, I had kind of made it for a pashmina, so I wasn't sure how it was going to translate onto like clothes. So the pashmina and the like actual garments are like slightly different just because everything needed to have like, it just needed to work for every garment. You know what I mean?
It's like cohesive. Yeah. Because I do know that like with our high-waisted bottom for it only comes in the like nighttime version, right? Versus like we only made one version of that. But the top, if you get the teaser, it's going to be the daytime version. And at first I was like, wait, is it reversal? Oh no, it's cohesive together. Like it goes together really well.
Yeah, it was a little tricky, like I said, to kind of like transfer it into pieces just because I was like, because it does have like a day and a night to it. So I'm like, I can't really like squish that onto like a high-waisted thong, you know, or a bikini top. Like it just wouldn't have worked. So I needed to like separate some pieces. And I thought it would be cool to have like the bottoms be nighttime. And some of them are a little different, but I don't know. I was just trying to be like creative with it, and I really like how everything kind of came together naturally. But yeah.
Sweet. And so that was one of the first designs. And when did you get put into your like full-time position? Because you did cutting, then heat press, and then what was after that?
So I was learning how to print, but I wasn't like the main printer person. I was just kind of a sub whenever there needed to be a person there, or if like the person was out or something. And then during this whole time I had been making designs on the side. I had been showing like Mike and Alyssa, and I had been helping out with like little design things like making the markers and stuff here and there. And
you just started doing that recently too.
Yeah.
Like very recently, like within the past like what, 3 months?
Yeah.
Which is because I do remember like we'd have our meetings and they're like, Silver's killing it on the markers. I was like, I thought she's always been doing that. I thought you'd always been a designer. I had no idea about like your past, like with production and everything.
Yeah, it was definitely, I had definitely like earned my way for sure, because like they had known I had been wanting to do it for a really long time. So yeah, basically I just kind of had like showed them little designs here and there and helped out with like small parts of graphic design whenever they needed extra help. And yeah, so I definitely earned my spot, and I'm very proud of that. But so with Mirage too, obviously like I had started making that collection a while ago, but I wasn't really sure if I was super crazy about it at first. It was kind of like one of those things where, I don't know if in art class, like you've made a painting or something, you just stare at it so much that you're just like over it.
Yeah,
you know what
dude,
I mean?
it's so bad. Where you're just like, I need someone else to tell me it looks good. I need, and even when you tell me, I'm kind of like, are you sure about that?
Or like it could be anything. It could be like a picture of yourself, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna post this, but you look at it so many times and you're like, I don't look cute anymore. Like I used to think I look cute, but
that's not my face.
Yeah,
that's AI.
But that's kind of like the feeling I was getting, and after a while, I was kind of telling Mike and Alyssa, the owners, that I don't know if I'm like feeling this as much as I did initially. Like I feel like not as good about it. And so we just kind of like put it on the back burner, and I'd come up with some like other ideas on the side. I didn't really have a collection of my own, or a design of my own, I should say, come out till like Chase's collection. So like a few months ago.
Were you like, did you collaborate? Because obviously we have Maureen too. And Maureen is also one of our graphic designers. Yeah. Did you collaborate? When it comes to collections, let me rephrase this. When it comes to collections, are you and Maureen like working closely together? Or is it like one person on one project, one person on the other? Like how do you guys go about that?
So it's definitely separated, just also because like Maureen lives in a different state. So it makes things kind of hard. I mean, we'll text and like coordinate some things, but as far as designs, we're very independent with that. We don't really like collab with any sort of designs, which is kind of cool because like you can definitely tell the different art styles between us, you know? Like when I see like a piece Maureen does, I'm like, that's very Maureen, you know? Yeah. And like I hope that eventually it could be like that for me. Like, oh, I feel like Silver made that one or something, you know? But yeah, we don't work super closely together. But she's been designing a lot longer than me, especially at Freedom. So I do look for her for like a lot of guidance as well. Like if I'm stuck on something or I'm like, do you think this looks good? I'll go to her and she'll usually help me out. But yeah.
So Chase Face, that was like one of your first collections. Yeah. Did you design, because it's a reversible collection, did you design both sides?
No, not both sides. So I just did one side. It's like kind of like wavier side. One? Yeah. So I did that one, and the reason I made it the way it is because we had met with Chase through a bunch of meetings, and he gave us like a list of ideas that he wanted, and me and Maureen were kind of like independently tackling it and doing our kind of like own renditions of what it should look like. So it just kind of got to a point where it was like, these two things look really cool. Like, I don't think we could just pick one, so let's just do both. So like that's kind of why a lot of pieces are like reversible, or like not the whole collection is the same, I guess. You know? So that one was really cool just because like it was just, I don't know, it was so weird and so creative, and the two art styles are so different, I feel like, but like go together really well. Yeah, they're just
and it's also really cool just like as a designer or as a person like watching you guys go about designs, like taking somebody's like a collaborator's or an influencer's ideas and then making it, you know, like their own is really, really unique, because you can actually like really do see that in the Chase Face collection. Because I'm sure you guys heard the same thing, but it like processed differently in your brains, and then it came out differently through like art styles. So I really dig that. And there's also little Easter eggs you put into your. Can you talk about those Easter eggs?
I needed to put something weird in, because Chase was also like, I want you guys to like put my like totem head. I want you guys to like put little hidden things. So I was like, all right, bet. So literally, it's so funny because I didn't ask him for a picture of himself or anything. I just went on his Instagram for like inspo, just like, what would be cool? Like, what of his on his Instagram that he posts a lot would be cool to put in? So literally what I did was I screenshotted one of the pictures that he had on Instagram. And I just went into Photoshop, edited his face out in one of them, edited his totem face out in another one, and I just like distorted the fuck out of it. And like, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss.
You're allowed to cuss. It's okay.
But yeah, I distorted the fuck out of it, and it turned out really cool. I worked it into my design just in like the perfect spot, and that's kind of what happened. So you can see like the little totem head and his head. And oh my God, when he saw it, he was like dying. It was funny.
It is really cool, because I was looking at it and I was like, oh my God.
You're like, that's his face.
That's literally his face. Which is also just like another crazy thing to have like somebody else design a piece of clothing for you and put your fucking face into it. Like what? Like that is so sick.
It was definitely a fun collection to work on. I really liked that one.
And were you a full-time designer by then, or like
by then? Was I?
Because that was like February, January. You weren't yet?
I don't think I was yet.
This is so recent.
Yeah, this is super recent.
Yeah, I don't think you were at all at that point. I think you're still like back and forth between like the other office and like doing production.
Yeah, I think so
that's
too.
why you were at the other office. Oh my God, I literally remember, guys, I was here for this. This is so crazy. Because I feel like a lot of stuff is like, in my head at least, like I'm like pre-internship for me. But like there obviously was like stuff beforehand. But like I do remember you would like come into the office like 1 or 2 days a week. I'm like, I wonder like where Silver is. And then all of a sudden you were here every day.
I would just pop up randomly.
I was like, heck yeah. Oh my God. Wait,
Yeah,
that
crazy,
is
right?
so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, where do we start? So we actually release, okay, so we have Chase Face and then next week we have Mirage, which is also crazy just like the way it's released because Mirage is getting released next week, but you've already had designs come out, but Mirage was one of your first.
Yeah,
so I just think
that
that's
weird.
I know it feels, but that's also like the production process, like figuring out like the markers. Like I've seen y'all do it, and it's just a very complex process where you have to make sure that it fits, but not only with the extra small to the extra extra large. Like
move things around, make sure everything looks good on every piece. Like make things larger or smaller for every piece. So it just depends on like what it is, but yeah, most of my collections are just like in my head, I'm thinking like I need to make this as crazy as I possibly can. Like I want it to be so like out there and so different than anything we've come out with. Yeah. And I know a lot of people are probably like maybe not used to it or maybe don't expect it from us, but like that's kind of what I want to bring to the table is just something unexpected and not something people have seen before, especially with Freedom, you know?
Yeah. And for that collection, I remember like, so when you get samples, is that like a very exciting day?
Totally.
Like,
yeah.
Are you like, it's sample day?
Yeah. Cause like our production moves so quickly that sometimes I won't even like see the samples for a while, or like I won't see the samples till, you know, like maybe shoot day or something.
Oh, you're kidding, really?
Yeah. So like, yeah, maybe we'll change the process on that in the future, but sometimes it is like a surprise for me. But I do kind of know where like certain, what's the word? Like I pretty much know where things are gonna fall on the body just by like looking at the like shape of the garment that we'll have. We call it like a flat, where it like for a side boob, we'll have the flat. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to describe this. It's so hard to describe.
I think for Sanctuary, it's a really like easy one to think about because you have like in the waist, you have. They're supposedly like flower. Are they flowers?
Yeah. They're like flower petals, but it kind of looks like.
It looks like corset cinching.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that, I went, "That's a corset." But then I saw the side, and I went, "Wait, but it's a flower." And then I was like, "Oh, yeah." So you really do have to think about that. Or there's abstraction, which I don't know if you collaborated with.
I didn't do that one, but you know. We're like the boob things. Yeah.
There's swirls. Yeah. And so it's like, I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like contour the body, like make it look, because then it looks good on everybody. And having like a flattering piece can also be really hard when you have like a certain type of style that we haven't changed.
Totally.
So like maybe like somebody's like, oh, I don't really love how like a side boob like looks, but then they have something on that has the contouring piece and they're like, I love the way this looks. You know? So it's cool to be able to see that.
Yeah. I try to think of things that will like flatter the body in the right places. So like I'm thinking about the design itself, but I'm also like, I need to make sure this like looks good on a body. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I had to think about with Sanctuary, because initially I had kind of come up with these like very like straight cathedral looking like structures on it, but I was like, I can't just put this like flat on a body because it's just gonna look weird. So I have to think about like making the design cool, but also like, where is this gonna flatter the body? Like, is this gonna like cinch the waist, or if I put it here, whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And so when it comes to like your also designing process, like, are you required to design within a certain amount of time? Do you just have to like bite the bullet on some designs and be like, this is like what this is? Or like, do you have like dates, or is it just kind of like, hey, if you can bust out 3 in a week, then like that's amazing. But if you can do like 1 in a month, like how is the duration or like the process of that? How does that go for you? Because it's a totally new position for you.
Yeah. So it just like it's been like random every week, to be honest, because like I've been given different like design projects every week. So I'll have weeks where I'll be given a task like come up with 10 page designs by the end of the week. And obviously not all of them are going to be bangers, but I try to make as much as I can, and then Alyssa or whoever is like looking at designs can kind of pick their favorites, you know? But for the most part, I'm kind of given a deadline by the end of the week and like can you finish this design by the end of the week, or in within the next 2 weeks, something for EDC, like a couple different designs for EDC, or if it's like a marker task, finish making markers for this collection by the end of the week. So it's just kind of, it's different every week, to be honest. Yeah. A lot of the artists I listen to are like also really big inspirations to like the way I design things, or like the type of collections that I have in mind to make in the future. I also saw this artist 13 there. He's like, I feel like not that many people know him, but he's a mid-tempo artist, and like, if you don't know who he is, please look him up. He doesn't really come out with music as much anymore, but like, he's one of the best mid-tempo artists I've ever listened to.
Oh my God. I'm going to have to look this. We'll blast it upstairs when we have like, we'll blast it upstairs.
He's so good. He's so good, dude.
Oh, I'm excited. Yeah. That's sick. Okay. So next week we have Mirage coming out. Is there any design tips that you have for like any people who are like, oh, I want to be a designer, I want to do production? Like, is there any tips that you have for our audience that maybe you would like give to like a future graphic designer? Or maybe like, what would you give like advice to past you?
That's that's a good question to ponder. I would say like for advice, I would say like, I know this is so cliche, but just like be yourself and be as creative as you possibly can. Like, do not be afraid to create something that's like very outside of the box. Cause like for freedom, especially, there was, in the past, I was kind of afraid to do like really obscure designs, and I feel like that's eventually what made me stand out. And I could make very like pretty girly designs, you know, but I just want to make something very different, because I feel like that's kind of what the rave scene is calling for. I feel like we've seen all the like cutesy prints, and I feel like we're all kind of getting a little more like obscure with our fashion. I feel like people are taking a lot more risks now, and you're seeing a lot more I don't want to say like strange things, but just like out there.
Variety.
Yeah,
like
variety
diverse.
When it comes to like fashion, and I love it. Like I love the creativity. So I would just say be as creative as possible.
I love that though, because it's always good to have like that reminder, because I feel like for like myself, like I do creative stuff, but it's really nice to be able to hear like, it doesn't matter, like go out there, no, like just do whatever you want, like, because at the end of the day, like if you don't like it, you can always change it, or just and then you get to experiment with stuff, and you're like, oh, this worked, and I'm going to do this again this time, but I'm going to do it bigger and better, and you know, like 1,000 times different. So I think it's a really good reminder to have. So well, thank you so much, Silver, for joining us. Thank you so much, Silver, for joining us. And I'm so excited to see your journey, and it's really cool to see how far you've come, like throughout production, and then laser cutter, and then heat press, and then now I didn't realize how like so recent it was. So just it's so cool to see you grow, and I'm so excited for you, and I'm so excited to see all your future designs.
Thank you. It's been a nice little journey.
Oh, and then last but certainly not least, where can we find you if you would like to share your social media?
So you can find me at Silver Bullet, SIILL, Silver, and then Bullet spelled normal. I don't know if I said that right, honestly. I was overthinking that. Silver Bullet, 2 I's, 2 L's. You'll find me.
They're there. She's there. Well, you have an amazing day, and thank you for coming on this podcast. Like a